Joe Blasco again here with you, and we're with Bill Corso. But before we get to Bill, there's a little something I'd like to read for you, and this is a very brief bio. Makeup artist Bill Corso has been altering people's images since he was 7 years old. A childhood fascination with drawing, movies, and monsters led Bill to attend a high school for the visual arts in Sarasota, Florida. After moving to Los Angeles in 1985, he attended the Joe Blasco Makeup Center in Hollywood, and you might say he paid his dues there. Bill began to lend his talents to such makeup luminaries as six-time Oscar winner Rick Baker for Gremlins 2, Life, and many more, and three-time Oscar winner V. Neil for Batman and Robin, Galaxy Quest, and also many, many more films. A single sculpting assignment for Steve Johnson and his company XFX Inc. resulted in Ghostbusters and The Abyss. This began an 8-year collaboration with Steve Johnson, this time as art director and head studio makeup artist. Species saw a pairing resulting in 2 Emmys for Outstanding Achievement in Makeup for, as it happens, for 2 Stephen King's miniseries, The Stand and The Shining. It was the latter, which he also department headed, that saw Bill leave the FX studio to devote his energies to on-set makeup work. He has since lent his talents to Steven Spielberg's Amistad, AI, Munich, Ron Howard's Le Grinch, Steven Soderbergh's Out of Sight, Tim Burton, Planet of the Apes, and Milos Forman's Man on the Moon. After having met Jim Carrey on Man on the Moon, a creative partnership began, including The Majestic, Bruce Almighty, and Fun with Dick and Jane. This eventually culminated with Lemony Snicket's, a series of unfortunate events which won Bill his first Academy Award for Outstanding Achievement in Makeup. Bill's last projects were the Oscar-nominated Click with Adam Sandler, The Great Buck Howard, What Just Happened, and Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Bill is married to actress, clothing designer Odile Corso, and they have a daughter, Olivia. They reside in Encino. Well, that is an incredible bio of Mr. Corso's, and I must say, and I will at this moment welcome you to the show.
My pleasure.
Bill, it's just a pleasure to have you here.
Very excited.
You look younger than ever.
Thank you, sir.
You never seem to age. I suppose it's all the special makeup effects that you've learned to do.
This is not me.
Bill, let me tell you something. Firstly, I know, and I'm going to get this out of the way right off the top. I know that you graduated from the Joe Blasco Makeup Center back in '85, but I have to say, and this is to all the world, that was simply nothing but a brief little sliver of knowledge that went into this man, because when he came to my school at that time, he already had a tremendous understanding of makeup artistry, and he had the passion and the wherewithal to continue. And when I saw you as a student at the Makeup Center, I knew that you were going to be successful. I knew it. You had what it took. Everything that you did was right on the money. You paid tremendous attention to detail in everything that you did. And I can't say honestly that I had really very much to do with your career, except to have had you attend my school and to simply start you off in some very, very small way. Very small way. Because as you know, and as you found out, and as so many of my other Academy Award winning and Emmy Award winning makeup artists have found out, that attending the school is just the very beginning. That the real knowledge comes from being out in the field,
yes,
from working in the labs with Rick Baker, with Steve Johnson, with Matthew Mungle, in so many of these different labs where you really learn the way that it's done. It's like I remember when I went to hairdressing college to get my cosmetology license. What they taught was just state board. So you really learned when you got into the field and began working in the salon. So
Right, but I think you're selling yourself your involvement a tad short, because I would put the school and your involvement easily on par with with Rick and V and all the people I've worked with. I mean, Steve Johnson. I mean, I've learned a lot from everybody, but I took so much from the school.
Yes.
Gave me the foundation. I mean, as much as anybody did.
Well, thank you.
No, absolutely.
Thank you for that.
I wouldn't be who I am without everything that I learned.
Thank you. Yeah, I suppose everything that you learned it makes.
Yeah.
You know what I really, and I'm sure that, and I don't know whether this came from or your being a student at the school, but when you did the makeup on your wife for the book, there was one point after you had applied the prosthetics, the appliances, that you went over the entire appliance with this blood red color. Mm-hmm. And this was something that I recall teaching. Mm-hmm. And I looked at that and I said to myself, well, if nothing more, I taught that.
It's all in there. It's all in there.
It's great. Okay, let me start off with. And you started in makeup when you were 7 years old. I don't know that many people that start that early.
No. Yeah, there's only a few.
Tell me all about it. What interested you? Why did you begin at 7?
Coming from a family of plumbers, it's a bit out there. It's a bit odd. To hear my dad talk about it, I drew when I was 2, 3. I mean, my daughter draws, but that's a lot for me. But yes. I was fascinated with art. I mean, that's all I did was draw, and I don't know where that came from. But I gravitated towards drawing like monster stuff. I don't know why, but I found that fascinating. Dinosaurs and scary stuff, yes. and at the time, like Kiss was later, but I was like into Kiss, and like they had makeup and everything. But anything with makeup I was into.
Right.
But come when I was 6 or 7, I was fascinated by monster stuff. And I remember at the time specifically, my favorite movie was Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. Partly because it was funny and scary.
Yes.
And not so much the fact that I knew that it was makeup, but I just liked that movie. And yes. I'm 6 years old, and I just remember seeing it on Sunday morning, and I just love that movie. So I would go to the first grade. I remember, vividly that I would go to the little library we had in our school, and I would find books on monsters, Frankenstein and Dracula. And
yes.
I just would. That's all I would get from the check out from the library was those books. And this is how I know I was 7 years old. 7 years old, first grade, they had a book fair. And I love books. I had tons of books. And again, a lot of them were, dinosaurs or monsters or
yes.
movie monsters. So, and they came out with a book, and I still have the book, and it's called Making a Monster. Is it Making a Monster? And it's by Alan Ormsby. It's a little blue paperback book. It's a little kid's book, and it's how to it was little bios on Frankenstein and
yes,
Dracula,
yes.
and all the famous movie monsters.
The construction makeup,
right.
working with cotton.
All the famous stuff. And in the back of this little book, there was how to do your own makeups, how to put on your own haunted house, and how to do your own makeups, the paper mache Frankenstein
yes.
and Dracula, and how to actually do the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde with the red blue light, the red green light, but more specifically, that year my dad took me to see Young Frankenstein. That was my turning point.
A turning point.
And it's funny, every makeup artist I know can trace their roots back to King Kong or Planet of the Apes or some big makeup movie. So mine was my epiphany was Young Frankenstein, because I love that movie so much. I saw it 5 times in the theater.
How old were you?
I was 7. This is 1974. I was 7, and I kept asking my dad to take me back and see the movie, and he liked it, so he kept taking me. And this book had a picture of Young Frankenstein in it, which I lost my mind. I had to get this book because I had to draw Young Frankenstein. I mean, I remember drawing pictures of him, Peter
yes.
Boyle and his
yes.
makeup.
Yes.
And then I started drawing. So I in my book, it's traced. Like all the pictures are traced because
yes.
I trace the pictures and
yes.
draw bodies on them and put them in scenes. And
yes.
And so I remember I remember making my Frankenstein head and doing my little gray makeup on with my mom's eyeshadows, and it takes a long time to use the little eyeshadow applicator and make up your whole face. But when you're 7, it's okay. So I can trace it literally back to that day, like getting that book, doing all those makeups, and that was the start of it. And then a couple of years later, I stumbled across Famous Monsters.
Yes.
And luckily,
Ackerman's
yeah, of course.
fantastic
And
magazine,
luckily,
yes.
within the first couple of issues, I found, if I remember correctly, there was a big cover story on Rick Baker and the
Yes.
Incredible Melting Man with him with all the masks.
Yes.
And I thought, oh my God, this is just, I have to do this. And I took all my action figures and dolls and made melting man heads of them and took clay and I painted them all. And so that was it. And ever since, I was obsessed. I was just obsessed from then on,
That's
all
what it
through high
takes.
school.
There's
Yeah.
the passion.
Yeah.
That's what it takes to get into this profession.
Yeah, no, it's
If you've got-
crazy obsession.
Yeah, you have to just be, it just overshadows everything in your life.
No, and it was so much fun, and it's such an unusual profession, And the fact that my dad was smart enough, because my mom, she wasn't that, she was like, oh, okay, well, stop, I would cut my fingers off and show her, and she's like, that's disgusting, don't show me. But my dad was fascinated, and my dad would read the books and the magazines with me, and he thought it fascinating that if I didn't have to lay under a house and clean out a gutter, that was good,
Right.
So he thought it was really great, and he realized from reading the magazines that it was a profession, and you could have a life career doing it. And you read about these guys, and thank God for Famous Monsters to actually profile the makeup artists.
And you began actually reading Famous Monsters when Famous Monsters was almost at its end.
It was
Fangoria
just
was beginning
right. It was just
becoming-
Fangoria started in the 80s, the late 70s, early 80s.
Yes.
But this is still 73, 74.
Yes,
so
yes.
I was in the tail end of the monster covers where
exactly.
they still had paintings by
Basil
Basil
Gogos,
Gogos.
yes.
There were still a couple of those. So I was excited, and I bought back issues to get like the old, really great,
I have
covers.
to show you all the issues. That
Oh
I
my
have.
God!
I have an entire
So
library.
I love them. So I obsessed about all that, and then as I got into and when I went into school, everything was geared towards art, and this is what I wanted to do, and I would tell
Made
my
it-
art teachers,
You made it
"Oh yeah."
geared towards art.
No, I
Did
well,
you not?
Yeah, well, I told everybody like.
This is what I want to learn.
This is what I want to learn.
Art
Yeah,
classes. I want
much to the
sculpting
dismay
classes.
of my teachers. Oh yeah. And lucky for me, in Florida, having come from New Jersey, my dad hated the weather. Big Italian family. We all relocated to Florida. I was lucky enough that there was a huge performing arts. I mean, they're all over the country, but I had found out that my art teacher in junior high. So this is 7th grade. I would make masks, and I won all the mask contests that we would, for Halloween, they had a mask contest, and I won. I did a big werewolf, I think. And he said, you shouldn't go to high school. But there was a huge high school right there, and I had all my friends. And he goes, but an hour away, 45 minutes away, there's a big performing arts school. That's a huge, accredited school. It's one contest for their performance section. He goes, and they have an art division, and it's all art. And he goes, that's what you should do. So, again, like Blasco, like the makeup center, you had to audition, you had to bring your portfolio.
Yes.
I had to go up there, and they had like a 2-week period where they would see students, and you would interview. And I'm, what was I? I was like 14. I went up to the school with my little portfolio and pictures, and I interviewed with the 3 art teachers, and and they had all these kids they were seeing, and it was in a school that was a really hardcore school in a bad neighborhood. It was a huge, beautiful art facility, but and it was adjacent a high school. So you would take your high school classes in the morning, your arts classes in the afternoon. So the very idea of it is fantastic. 4 periods of art, 3 periods of academics. Oh my God, that's fantastic. If I could do that, that'd be great. But I remember there being armed guards in the hallways, and it being like just a bad neighborhood, and I'd have to, because I was so far away, I'd have to bus there in the morning, which they would do, but you'd have to go to the high school, and I thought, I don't know if I could go to this high school, because they got armed guards, and then I heard somebody saying somebody was stabbed here, and I thought, oh man, I don't think I could do this. I'm like a little wimpy, little skinny kid. I go, as much as I wanted to go to the school, to the art center, I go, I don't think I can do it. And I'll never forget, I got on the bus to go home, and I was simultaneously excited and devastated that, here was my dream within reach, and I didn't think I could go, because I was really scared. And there was a really cute girl sitting on the bus next to me, and she was applying for the art program too, and she was, and I was very shy, and she was like, are you going to go here next year? And I go, I don't know, I'm a little nervous, and she goes, well, I'm going to go, and we could be friends, and it'll be really fun. And her enthusiasm, and the fact that she was a cute girl and talking to me about being there. I was like,
It was-
if she can go, I
Gave
can
you some
go.
strength.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Right.
That kind of I found strength. I found strength in being attracted. So I went home and told my mom, and I go, yeah, it's a little tough, but I think I'll be okay.
Right.
You know, yeah.
I love it.
So
That's
it was great.
Bill, hang on just 1 second. We have to stop just for 1 minute. We'll be right back with more on Bill Corso right after this. Don't go away.